This is J. Gardner Cassatt. He had the mansion built in 1906. He also is the brother of Mary Cassatt, the famous American impressionist. However, she never visited the mansion. Last but not least, this is Tango, his equine eminence, who resided in the carriage house. These sconces used to be all over the building. They are electric. Now there are only 2 left. Notice the beautiful beams. Mrs. Meigs thinks the wood is mahogany. These are the leaded stained glass windows above the entrance to the building. This is the back of the Y, which was known as the terrace when it was owned by the...
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to repeat that. That was fine.
How long did it take to build Castle Farm?
I think that it took at least 2 years. I think the house was started in 1906. That would be, the cellar hole would be dug and some of the walls and everything would be up. And the reason I think this is that I know a lady that was governess for the Newton children who lived across the way, and they used to sit on the porch and watch the wagons drawn by horses coming up from Berwyn Station, carrying the bathtubs and all the fixtures for the house.
Wow. What were the parking lots back then?
There was no parking lot. There was merely the main road in through the brick gateways that now has a chain across it. And you drove right up to the house and around the circle. And there was a courtyard in the back where the back porch is, which is now, I guess it's a playroom, and one is now the kitchen. There was a place where you could park, but there were no parking lots.
Okay, which room was your room while you were growing up?
My room was the one right above this room. It had 2 windows faced out that way and out on the terrace. We can take a tour if you want afterwards.
Okay. Were there any kids there while you were growing up?
Well, my brother and myself, we were the only kids in this house.
And how's the place heated?
Very good question. It was heated by coal, and there were must have been 2 furnaces. One was a hot air furnace. This room, this front part of the house, the dining room, were all heated by hot air. And the kitchen end, at the far end, and our nursery, which was above that, were heated by hot water. But the fires were fueled by coal. It took 2 gondolas. Your father knows what a gondola probably looks like. Coal cars of coal to heat this house for the winter. And I can remember every fall the coal trucks would come from Stack's Coal in Berwyn and empty the coal down into the cellar on a sheet. And the window was right by the front door, to the left of the front door.
And how many staff was there?
How many staff? That's an awfully good question. Because nobody in their right mind could imagine one mother taking care of all this house, the children and the cooking. There was a cook, and she had a helper. There was a waitress, and a parlor maid, and a chambermaid. And the cook's helper took the cook's place when the cook went on her day off, and took the chambermaid's place when she went on her day off. And then there was a chauffeur who also fired the furnace. And there was a gardener who took care of the grounds and planted the trees and all of that. And then there was a groom and his wife in the stable, which is now the carriage house, who looked after the horses.
And where did they stay?
Well, the staff that took care of the house lived on the 3rd floor in this house. And the groom and his wife had an apartment in the stable, in what's called the carriage house.
Were the tennis courts there?
There was 1 tennis court, and the way you got to it was, well, all the swimming pools now cover what was the garden, but there were set of steps up from the garden into the field now that is now a parking lot, and that had 1 tennis court in it. And that was a big field, and we always called it the tennis court field because it had a tennis court.
What was the lobby used for?
What was the what? living room.
And
And if you want to know what it looked like, it had red damask, very, very ugly, all over the walls, with white, where the outline is in brown, was a white molding. And all the rest was red damask and red damask curtains until my mother got rid of them and put flowered ones up. But she never could get rid of the red damask. And there were big, heavy curtains with valances across them. And during the war, oh, and there were shutters in the windows. Every one of these windows had folding shutters with little louvers that closed. And during the Second World War, we shut all that and pulled the curtains across, and that was our blackout.
You want to ask what it's a blackout?
no, I know.
But anything you don't know, you can ask.
Yeah,
If
well,
you don't know what dance is or parlor maid, you can ask a Sammy's question.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Anything you don't know.
Was there a pool there?
The swimming pool, there was a swimming pool, but it was way down the end of the field. You know where the pond is? You have a big pond at the end. Well, if you were to come this way from the pond, there was a big swimming pool, but it was the shape of a marsh. They just dug out a marsh. And it was kind of a kidney shape. And the stream ran into it. And the stream was pretty much spring water, which would have been 50 degrees, no hotter. It was a very cold pool.
My mom didn't want to go there.
It took me a long time to learn to swim because the only place that children could stand was a shallow end. And that's where the stream ran in. And that was the coldest. You couldn't stand it for very long.
What was your favorite room to explore?
My favorite thing to explore? Up in the attic. Up in the attic on the third floor, there was a trunk room where there were trunks with all kinds of old clothes. And we used to do a lot of dressing up.
I like to do that too. How many fireplaces are there?
Oh dear, there's a fireplace in every room on the second floor and on this floor. And they all worked. They don't anymore because some vandal got in here and broke the iron. These are all imported French or Italian. You have to count the rooms because I can't just offhand tell you. Do you want to know what it was like to live here, to grow up here?
Yeah, I forgot to add it.
You've written that down?
No, I forgot to add it.
Oh.
I would like to know.
Well, go ahead, ask the rest of your questions.
I think I already asked them. So,
Let's see. Well, do you want to know what it was like to live here?
I would.
Well, first of all, we didn't go to school. My father was very much afraid of diseases, of us catching measles or whooping cough or something like that. Because in his family, back in he was born in 1876, and he had an older brother who died of something, and an uncle who died of something, and there was no penicillin in those days, no way of getting well if you really got sick. So he was very much afraid of us getting any kind of a disease and getting sick and maybe dying. So he thought the best thing was to be outdoors all the time and stay at home. Well, that meant we had to have a governess. So the lady who was the governess for the Newtons that I had seen the bathtubs coming in, she became our governess. And we had lessons every morning in our schoolroom, which had been our nursery. It's the room upstairs that looks over the back porch there. And we learned to read and write and speak French first, and then I learned English to read English. And then I had history. She read to us endlessly. She read us all kinds of stories, and she read us history and geography. And we did some math. Math was the poor thing. I never really learned a lot after that. And then I didn't go to school until I was 11. And that was to the Leopard School, which was run by a friend of my mother's here in Leopard Road. But we had no friends to come and play, except children of friends of my parents. There was one little girl who lived across the way, named Isabel Mead, and she was our one also had a governess and didn't go to school until she was older. And then there were two more children down the road in that very Elizabethan-looking house on Leopard Road and Sugartown Road that has an overhanging front upper story. Rosemary and Billy Varner, and they used to play with us. But literally that was all, unless we had a birthday party, and then friends of our parents, children of friends of our parents would come, and we wouldn't even know them. So we grew up rather shy and very dependent on all the things our mother and our governess read to us. And then we would act out those stories. And for instance, I don't know if you've ever read the book Silver Chief, for instance, when it snowed, we would take our dogs and hook them to our sleds and play that we were taking the serum to a village that was contaminated.
Malta.
What?
Malta, that we
Oh,
call it Malta.
this was called Silver Chief, and Silver Chief to the rescue.
Yes,
We
I
did
did
that sort of thing. And then when we were older, we had our ponies, we would be the Three Musketeers, or we would, oh, I don't know, just anything imaginative. That was our life. No television or anything, it was just books.
What was your favorite book?
My favorite book? I guess those Silver Chief books, and another one about ponies called Moreland Mousey. And as I got older, things like the Three Musketeers and the whole sequel of those three sequels, and I liked Dickens. My mother read us absolutely everything, sitting in a chair right there. And I would be sitting in another chair over there drawing, quickly painting and drawing all the things that she read to us. And my brother, he enjoyed them too. A lot of the books were way above our heads. And my mother would obviously come to a spot that she didn't consider proper for us. So she'd have a violent coughing fit, have to go get a glass of water, and I'm sure she turned over 10 pages, and we kept, that's how we were protected from the media in those days.
Was there a library?
There were bookcases. There were two big bookcases in this room, right along these two walls, filled with books. And then in the book in the room that's now the membership office, there was a big bookcase there. Not a real library, they were just bookcases all over.
Any questions about the architecture, Margo?
Or the materials that were used in the house? Anything like, you want to ask something about that?
About what?
The materials that were used to make the house? Or
Oh, the brick. I have no idea where it would have come from, but obviously, if they were copying a French architecture of the French Renaissance, and brick was used there, that's what they wanted to use here.
What I was thinking about the brick was I asked Mom, did brick burn? So, because I was thinking if it was built around the World War I, then brick would be good because it doesn't burn.
Well, it was built before World War I, so it must have been very good.
And,
How did you know that?
well, I knew that this building is brick, and I knew that World War I was around 1918 or something.
It
And
just ended in 1918.
so then I found out, I forget how, oh yeah, I read this book on, I found this article or something in this book that said, that was all about the Cassatt Mansion, and it said that what year it was built in, so then I'm like, well, if it was built around the year, then, well, it could be built in brick, so it can burn, of course.
Very good. I don't know. We had a chimney fire in this fireplace once, and you can imagine the height of these chimneys. My father just went and got a lot of salt and threw it on the fire. We didn't have any fire extinguishers or anything like that. He rushed outside, he saw the sparks coming out, and you could hear a roar in the chimney. But he just went and got Morton's, what is it? When it rains, it pours, and threw it on the box.
Can I ask a question?
I know there was one Margo question that she, remember, I don't know if you got to write it down, but we were wondering how many people worked on building a house? Like how big
That-
a crew was it?
I haven't, I wouldn't know, but I imagine an awful lot of people worked on building the house.
Yeah.
How about the lives of the people who worked here for us? We couldn't have lived here if it hadn't been for that whole staff of people. They were very important, and one time I spoke here with my aunt and talked about the staff. She said to me, "Oh, you mustn't mention the staff. It's not politically correct to talk about that sort of thing. Everybody's supposed to do their own work these days." Well, I said it's totally unrealistic to talk about this house or any house of this size and not talk about the staff. We as children lived with the staff more than we lived in some ways with our parents. And I talked about this wonderful lady we had who was our cook. Her name was Mrs. Brady. And she produced 3 terrific meals a day, not just for the 4 people in the dining room, but for all the staff as well. And she did have a helper who would peel vegetables. There were no frozen vegetables or anything in those days. Nothing like that. And ice had to come in great big blocks. I'll show you where the ice was. But anyway, she was a fantastic organizer and a marvelous cook. And the desserts, we had a dessert every single night. Why we didn't grow up like that, I don't know. But afterwards, I got this lovely letter from her nephew who had been in the audience. And he was a priest. And he didn't come up and speak to me, but he wrote me this wonderful letter. So I was very pleased to talk about the staff. They had all come from Ireland. All our people were Irish. They had all come from Ireland. And they all had someone who had gotten to Philadelphia ahead of them in their families. So they had somewhere to come. But in some cases, this was their very first job. And it was, when you think about what their lives had been like in Ireland, you know, you think maybe coming and being a waitress or a cook in somebody's house isn't so great. It was great in those days. It was what you really wanted to do. And these people's children and grandchildren today are on top of everything. You know, America is a wonderful place. And I feel that this house kind of gave a lot of people a good start. So that's one of the stories about it.
Just one question. It might be interesting, like, it's right behind you. What's this beautiful fireplace made out of? It might be interesting to ask about the architecture, right? What is this material? Where did it come from?
I don't know what sort of marble, but it's either French. I'm guessing it's Italian marble. I don't know whether there's a great deal of marble quarries in France, but I'm sure it's French Renaissance anyway. And the iron backs and jambs, I don't know where they would have been cast. There was, working in Philadelphia, I think, no, he's later, Yellen was later. And I don't know that he made those kind of things.
In light of the French Renaissance, what features of this Kelso farm mansion what aspects of the house kind of pick up on the French Renaissance? What features?
I think the outside more than the inside. Certainly the staircase didn't. I always remembered the staircase as a beautiful thing, and I always wanted to be a bride floating down the staircase. But Father Andrew at the Abbey gave me some photographs which I copied, and now I wish I'd brought them with me. And the staircase is a small, narrow, chunky thing, totally out of keeping with the French Renaissance. Actually, these ceilings aren't even high enough to be French ceilings. They would be, half again as high. Those houses over there tend to be fairly cube-like, very, very high, just as high as they are long. So there's very little. They would have had floor-to-ceiling windows down to the ground which would have opened the wall out.
But when we walk into the Y and we see these dormer windows and we see
that is, but that heavy white, what is terracotta molding is too heavy. The French ones were thinner and lighter and more delicate.
But for children studying architecture, what aspects of this building out front are features of French Renaissance? How would somebody recognize French Renaissance?
By the shape of the roof, I think,
The shape
and
of
the chimneys.
And the chimneys.
There's that steep roof and the chimneys. And if you look at the proportions of that, you'll see that this is squatter, you know. The distance from the eaves down to the ground seems to be shallower than that.
And in our
But I mean,
readings,
it just gives you the impression of being copied from
in our readings, we read that stained glass windows and leaded windows.
Well, there's a stained glass window over the front door.
So
You can't
maybe
see
that was a part of
That could have
the
been,
dormers,
the dormers definitely.
very French
Yeah.
Renaissance, the chimneys, and the roof.
And the steep roofs.
So maybe those are the
Those are big features, yes. And the brick, I think, was
And the brick.
widely used.
Great.
But the windows are all wrong. You see, these are, what are these called, sash windows? Or this French governess of ours called them guillotine windows. But they would have been, even if they had not opened all the way to the ground, they would have opened inwards with a latch. They'd have been, and had many panes.
leaded, yeah. Hey, maybe we should do a tour.
Yeah, maybe do a little
Yeah,
tour.
I'll have a tour.
Great.
Great. Very nice.
Maybe you wanna, I don't know whether you wanna
I
hand
hope
this
it
to
comes
me.
out. I
You
can
go.
put lipstick on, so.
I wish I had too.
And for text.
Did you want to see any pictures in this?
Sure. Can we do that in the
You know what? I thought that the Y should make a postcard of the house and
Yes.
sell it at the front desk.
Oh,
I've been
yes.
asked for that,
Absolutely.
for those pictures. I've gone to that camera shop over and over again and gotten.
Can you get
pictures.
Well,
Are these
we
okay to
even
get
have
pictures
this
on?
history on the webpage. We went to the Wise webpage. They don't even
No,
know.
they've got a few things wrong too, because I've got to write it out.
Yeah,
Because
but
they're-
we'll have this too. Maybe that somebody can transcribe
I
it.
think it would be grand. Well, wait a second.
We'll get Patrick set up.
Well, I have to let me get rid of the pieces that are not relevant. No, that's not, that's my aunt and me, I think. It's not my mom. No, I think it's a,
What a beautiful picture.
yes.
Is that
well, no, it's not down here. This is my father's side. Oh, here we are. There's my grandfather. Now, they have all of these pictures. I've taken them all out of this, unglued them, and got them copied for them.
So if we get those, Patrick, we can
Look,
see
is this
That's
a
one-
carriage by the
that's
carriage house?
Yes.
There's a
Can you
horse.
see?
Tango is the name of the
Yeah,
horse.
tango means I have in Spanish.
It means I have, you're right, but tango is a dance. I imagine it was rather a hard horse to ride. He must have danced around a lot. This was when my aunt and I came here and made the speech and talked about the house, and I got the letter back. Here's the letter that I got.
Uh-huh.
Well, there's my mother. Here is my grandfather and my aunt and my mother riding down there by the pond.
Wow.
And I think that, I don't give a date, but I'm assuming that would have been 1908. There's the house back in the background. And here's the house again, the way it was. And we have, of course, no colored pictures of the house back then.
But look, you can really see the.
But see how sort of bold it looks?
Yes.
See, but look at that,
The side.
compare, look at the height from the eaves of the roof down to the ground. Compared to a French house, it loses that height.
Have lift.
Now this. That's my uncle. Again, my aunt on a pony, my uncle, and there's Mary Cassatt. And that's Alexander Cassatt, who was the Pennsylvania Railroad. See, they were brothers and sisters.
Did you meet Mary?
No, she died 6 months after I was born. She never came, she never saw this house. She would not cross the ocean because she got so seasick.
Interesting. Ah.
She came up until about 1890, I think was her last trip, or 1892 or something like that.
Seasickness.
Yeah. There's my mother and my aunt, but let me see if I find some more. This is more or
I
less.
got a picture of it. You know what, we'll try and scan, we'll try and get copies of it.
Then we just go into horse pictures. The reason for coming out here was the horses, the riding and the hunting and everything. There's the house from the first.
Okay.
I must get these out of this
Zoom
book
in.
because it's not good.
Look at that.
But there's the house without any trees. You see, there's the terrace, and it had a big awning over it.
Oh, so this is the field of...
Well, that's the tennis court
Yeah.
up there. Now, let's see. Oh, and during the, I was going to say, during the First World War, they came out here, but everybody had the influenza. And my aunt was a nurse, and she just came and looked after my grandmother and my mother, and everybody was laid out flat with me.
Is this the back portrait?
No, that's the front right here. That's my
You
father.
call that the front?
Yeah, this is we call this the terrace, and that is the front, the other side.
This is the front?
This is the terrace.
Oh, the terrace, yeah, so it's like the back.
See there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Calcite.
This is somebody else's house.
Ah, yeah, okay.
But my father was the master of foxhounds of Radnor, and so they often had the meet here with the hounds. That's me on my pony. Look at the pony. He was so bad and so naughty. And there he is again.
What was his name?
A Stubby.
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 Because he was short, he was.
More hound pictures. This was my first introduction to politics. My parents were staunch supporters of repeal of the 18th Amendment, which 18th Amendment was prohibition. And they were Republicans, but my father changed and voted for Roosevelt so that he could vote for changing prohibition. So these were these committee meetings. And one of these gentlemen was Senator Davis and one was Mr. McGran. And I don't know how they were linked, but they grabbed us and had their political picture taken. Again, this is the terrace side of the house, this side. And that's my brother. And Mr. McGran gave us a spaniel puppy. And he was known as Tubby McGran, and the spaniel was named Tubby.
Great story.
Don't ask me anything more about those two gentlemen. I know nothing. But here we are. We dressed up a lot, you see. We dressed us as paid knights, and we made cardboard armor, and we rode our ponies with our. And these are just pictures.
Your uncle he raised amazing horses, didn't he?
No, that's Alexander Cassatt, great uncle.
Oh, okay,
my
your great
grandfather's
brother,
the one
right.
railroad.
Exactly.
And his
great.
son, Edward Cassatt, also, all in Chester Valley.
Right, Chester Brook.
Well, that's the,
Wow, what a tree.
that's how the house looks from this side, from the end of the lawn. You see, you've got all the
Still
swimming
has that
pools
same
there.
beautiful look.
Yes. Well, the Y's been wonderful the way they've kept it. My only thing is that I wish they'd kept the trees and not added the swimming pools out here. I wish they'd added them out this
Yeah.
side. But there may have been something about zoning and because of the watershed and the stream down in the yeah, because our family gave those woods first to the Philadelphia Conservationists, and I think they're now at Nature Conservancy or something. And Brian is going to use that for nature study and everything.
Wonderful.
Well,
You able to zoom in at all on those, Patrick? Or,
You're able
Did
to
you
get
that
that?
house?
We're going to scan them in.
Oh.
We'll get those photos and scan them in.
Oh, you-
Yeah,
we are.
don't you think? Wouldn't
We're
that
not
make
going
it
to get
easier?
those.
We'll need that.
We're not going to get those, I mean.
No, she Xeroxed them all,
Oh.
and we
They've
can,
got them.
we can
here.
borrow
you
them.
are.
Right.
Wow.
We'll
Oh,
scan
we
them
can
in, it'll make it
scan
so
them
much
in.
easier. So
Oh,
You can do that at home on a computer scanner. Oh,
But you'll have to borrow them from them.
Right.
If you want to take pictures of these, you can, just to make sure you've
maybe
got
if you
them.
write us a little note saying, please allow these movie makers to borrow.
Well, if Susan were here, I would...
We don't need to borrow yours, if you've Xeroxed them and they have them.
Can you take a picture of them?
Yeah.
You want to take
You
in?
can zero in. 'Cause that is the J guard.
That's J. Gardner Cassatt. I'm sorry, my writing is so... This is stuff for... This is Susan. I mean...
Wait till he's filming, right?
This is stuff for... I have stuff for Susan.
There's the carriage house. Get that?
Please allow the Faude family.
then there's one, let me get this, there's this one at a house.
I have a letter for Brian.
Should we get that picture?
No, that's not this house.
Xerox with an X.
Xerox is with an X, yes.
E-R-O-X-E-D.
I wanted to find the one of the house. There was that really good one.
Yeah, there was a good one of the house. We were not a photographic type of family. We didn't.
If you sign
do
that, that will allow them to
There,
let
you
us
can
borrow
Xerox-
those
zoom
ones.
in
That
on
way we
that.
don't have to
There's Kelso in
You
19.
think they will?
let us borrow them
Yeah.
to copy them. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you say so.
I think that's a good one.
It's a great one.
All right.
Great. Terrific. This was the
This is
dining
the
the living room.
The dining room is across the way. Is the one where there's a, they seem to be having a playroom.
But it's free now.
Well, do you want to do a tour?
We would love that.
I have all this stuff. I wonder if I should leave it in the office. Oh, yeah. No. I'll see Susan there, and I'll have something for her, too. Okay.
That's why.
The office is very occupied. Maybe the desk would just keep it.
Okay. Just putting our stuff in.
They're having interviews and things. I don't think that's very tactful.
Patrick, you can get
This book,
wood
Right.
cornices.
oh yes, I need that. And I wondered if I could leave my coat.
I'll be here until 12, so I will be watching.
Okay, you'll be here till 12. Yeah. There's something for, is Susan in today? No, she won't be. There's something for her there. And there's also something for Brian, which I'll put in his office. But that's over in the carriage house.
Yes.
All right, so maybe
And I can.
we're leaving our coats here.
Oh,
No one will touch them.
Staircase went up there.
Staircase ran up.
And stay up there, and you came in from either side. You could come in, and we had the glass doors in the middle. That was solid, and it was a way down. There's a cellar steps down to the cellar there. It's hard to describe it, but if you could visualize a staircase, a very ugly staircase. And there was a big elk's head, which is now Brian has it in the environmental center, and that hung right here.
I got a word about this crown molding.
That was always there. See these sconces? They were everywhere, and the Y must have sold them because Mr. Tenkel found two, this and that one, up in the attic. But they matched, of course, and they were all around. Every room had those wall sconces. There was no ceiling light.
Were those electric originally?
Yeah, they were electric, yes.
And now, can you just get those corner things so beautiful they are? All the corners are so gorgeous.
Do you know what this wood is?
I don't. What do you think? Does it look like mahogany?
That's my guess.
I would think it might be with this.
Yeah.
I don't think it was imported. I don't know. And I've asked somebody who is an architect to see if they could find out the records of the architects. But I've never been able to find. Nobody seems to.
Is it Cope and Sutherland?
Cope and Stewardson.
Stewardson, right.
Yeah.
But then when I looked under Cope and Stewardson in the buildings that they had done, this one is not listed.
It isn't.
A couple of wings in your great uncle's house are listed, but this house is
This
not.
was not listed. Isn't that odd?
Very odd. You'd think,
Because it's
and they
quite
did some
significant.
wings at Bryn Mawr College
Right.
and some dorm wings there and things like that, but this one is not listed under Cope and Stewardson.
Isn't that funny? Because this
Or,
being such a big house,
Such a major
you'd think
accomplishment.
it would be.
Right, so it's a mystery. All right. Margo? Yep.
That room back there, which is now the office, which is occupied, had a beautiful ceiling. It had these
why
kind of
we do that.
beams, and it was all blue with gold fleur-de-lis on it. Gold.
In the
gold,
membership?
In the
Well,
membership.
let's go in there for a
Well,
second.
it's not there.
Oh.
They took it all.
What was membership used for?
It was built as a billiard room. My grandfather thought he was going to have a billiard room in every house he built. and he never had a billiard.
How about if we go and say this was going to be, so it wasn't a billiard room?
No.
Let's
It
go,
was
that'll
just
be
another
good.
room.
Come on.
But see, they're having an interview.
And then that's before he actually starts. Do I start paying that? Usually it's due beforehand. So it's due a month earlier than last year. So it's taking in June. It's usually going to be due May.
This is makes me say this was going to be a billiard room,
You kind of know.
but in fact it never panned out.
You never bought a billiard?
He never bought a billiard table. So this is now membership, and it turned out to be just another room.
They'll definitely bill you this.
Of course, it was a dark room.
First, last name, and age on the back.
But it had these
Drop it off
beautiful
anytime.
blue, sort of church-like blue panels, you know, where the white is, with these gold fleur-de-lis.
But when we come out, there's actually a picture of that elk's head that used to hang in the front, right here, it turns out.
We might even, I don't think we can get into the garage. Oh, yes, right.
Here it is, the elk's head. That used to hang in
That hung right here in the hall.
in the front hall.
Would have been right there. I offered it back to them, and they didn't want to put it in here. So it's now in a very good place because it's now got the caribou head beside it that my father shot. So it's in a perfect place.
Where else would you
Now,
like
where
to
should
show
we
us?
go? Should we go to the dining room?
Which I have a hard time, so I've given him a few remarks.
Well, this was always white, because everything was white. This was white. It didn't have red downs, and it had very pretty curtains, nice flowered ones. And my mother always told me that this was planned to be painted, sort of a la Della Robbia or something.
Oh.
You know, like Della Robbia fruits and
Right,
something
right.
like that. Did all these things, but then my grandfather died, and my grandmother had no interest. She really didn't like it. She liked being in town. And I always thought this was a very pretty room, and I always liked the fireplace. Oh, I hope it's still there. It was a beautiful pink marble fireplace. Yeah, but it's stuck out.
I feel something.
Oh, that is there. I don't think that would have gotten rid of it.
No, that.
But you know, give them their due, they could have sold those things for a lot. They have sold the shutters, the wooden shutters that folded into here. See, they've had to put these across for hot weather, for the summer. Because it's a very hot with the sun beating down on it. But these were wonderful. All the shutters are on the third floor still. But they took them off the first floor and the second floor.
Should we go back here?
Well, this was the pantry. There was a big copper sink right in here. This was the room.
Okay.
There was a big copper sink, and every week it had to be cleaned with salt and vinegar. And stunk up the whole place. That's how they polished it, with salt and vinegar. And it was great because you didn't break dishes in it. That was the china closet. There was a big cabinet along there. And this was the kitchen. And I imagine the tile floors under it still. And these old cabinets were always here, but they were oak. They were all of it, it wasn't painted, it was all oak colored.
Yeah, I see tile right here.
Can you see that it's got tile?
Yeah, it's
All right,
like
they're
brown
still
or
there.
something. No, here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to be an architect or something, Margo, when you
Oh,
grow
yeah,
up?
there's a tile.
Is that the tile?
That's the tile.
Look at.
That's
you gotta
it,
zoom in
that's
on-
it.
That's what the floor was like when
Yeah,
this was.
can you get that picture?
Oh yeah, I got the tile.
All right. And here was the huge, big iron coal stove, coal range, with a big hood thing that came out. It had 8 burners, 2 ovens, and the coal had to be carried up from the cellar and had to be fired and all the ashes taken out.
How about
And-
through here?
Well, the ashes were not dropped down through the cellar. This was the they were taken out and kept in great big cans in the cellarway underneath here. But now I'm going to show you where the ice went in. And Father Anker didn't even know what this was. The ice would come from the ice place in Berwyn. It was called Ice Never Fails. It would come in a big yellow and blue truck. I guess they came twice a week, maybe.
Come down here.
Well, he came in here. The iceman would take a big fork and take 2 or 3 big blocks of ice, open this up and shove them in. And the refrigerator was on the inside, but he had no access to the stuff in the refrigerator. But there was a door on the other side, so that when you wanted to chop ice to make ice cream, for instance, because you had to chop up the ice and put it in the churn, you know, how you made ice cream and crank it. And you had to have access to the ice from the other side, so there was a door on the other side. And then, of course, all the ice melted, and you had the problem. It had to be drained down into the cellar. I never explored that sort of thing when I was little, but I remembered, I realize now that had to drain down into the cellar.
Can you imagine how hard that staff worked?
Well, there were so many people.
Right.
Today, what happens? We do everything.
Right.
I take out the ashes. We have a coal stove in our kitchen. I bring in the wood.
Uh-huh.
I clean the house. I do the cooking. I take care of my sheep. I take care of my chickens. I take care of my donkeys. I do everything.
Where is the staff?
So where's the staff?
Uh-oh.
Oh
Oh no, we've locked ourselves
no!
out.
I'll run around.
Well, we could just go around.
Maybe we could get away. Maybe
I'll
there's
run
somebody
around.
here.
There's some things to look at.
Okay, I'll go around.
There's also a doorbell here.
Oh, yes, it opens. No, it doesn't.
I'll run around. No, maybe not this door.
All right.
Luckily, it's not
Run.
going home.
Tell you what, why don't you-
But Margo, you asked about parking. The cars there was only blacktop from the posts, the gate posts up here, and a little bit to the side, but nothing like that where those trucks are. That was all grass along the sides, and there was a clothesline that was there. All the clothes were hung out to dry there.
So did you have cars or did you use carriages?
Well, I wish we'd used carriages. My mother did. Back when they first came here, they had carriages, but we had a car. We only had one car.
What kind of car was it?
I don't remember.
Ford Model T?
It was an old, my father had an old Ford, which had gears and things that were on the steering wheel. I can't remember. And then what did we have? My mother had a Chrysler. She drove, my father never drove. But when they first came here, they didn't have a car, and there was always a carriage horse left with his harness on in the stable, facing outwards out of his stall, so that if somebody wanted to go to the station or go to the post office or something,
He was all set.
he was set to go in the trap.
What was that house over there?
Well, that was where the groom lived, you see, and there was carriage. He lived on top in the old days when my grandfather was here, and the carriages were down below, and then the other side was the stable.
All right.
And then the building beyond that was a garage, and I don't know whether that was all built at the same time or a little bit later.
So that was the stable?
That was the groom's house and the carriage house, and on the other side, where the big hall is, that was
Yeah.
there was a courtyard in between, and then there was the stable with 6 stalls in it for horses. And we had a rabbit hutch in that corner.
Do you have any of your personal rabbits, like a rabbit of your
Oh,
own?
yes, they were both our personal. They were all our personal rabbits. We always had pets at one time or another. Well, this was what we called the kitchen pantry, but the big refrigerator was in there, and it was much bigger. It went on through. There was this is now a walk. But if you want to go around the other side, I'll show you where the only radio in the house was. This is the elevator. This elevator, I think, went up to the 3rd floor, and it was for wood. And when I was a baby, apparently, my nurse went in upstairs, into what she thought was the linen closet. Didn't have a sign on the door, walked in, and the elevator was parked down here. So she fell all the way down and burned, she didn't get hurt any more than just burning the insides of her hand.
Holding onto the
Yes.
wire.
And though the house was full of staff, my mother and father were supposed to go out to dinner that night. They refused to go out because the nurse couldn't take care of me, and so they wouldn't trust me to anybody in the house. Today, you trust your children to a 10-year-old practically, if you can get them.
Right.
Can we open that?
We can see what's there. I think it's all been boarded up. Yes, it's got a floor in it and everything. But it was an elevator that ran by ropes. It was no electricity. You pulled it up and down by rope. I don't think we should be
That's
in
their
here. This
electric
doesn't look
sort
like
of thing.
something we want to look at all.
That's the old elevator shaft?
That's the old shaft. Oh, and this interesting thing was a linen drop. Okay, let me go upstairs. There. This, you opened this, and it went all the way up to the upstairs. Down below, there was a kind of a trough, and you threw the dirty linen down. And you could guess what we did. We threw blocks, we threw our toys down, and then we'd rush down in the cellar and retrieve them.
So this
That's
was
locked. You can see what's in here. These are the back stairs. And this is where, this was all one big, there was a door into the staff dining room, but this was all a sitting room and dining room. And they had a radio. We didn't have a radio. So when we had to listen to Edward VIII, you know, renounce the throne for the woman I love, we all crowded in here to listen to that. And of course, all our Irish staff were delighted. An American woman has taken an English king off the throne.
Oh wait, my sister.
We've just left her in there. You
Come
want to
so.
come?
Which?
Do you want to come to the second
warm
floor?
house.
Yeah. Come on up.
There was a storeroom here. I guess it would have been.
It's okay.
I'm trying to think how the storeroom worked in. There was a cold room. It must have been in here somewhere.
Was that
Where-
the basement?
This is the basement. I don't feel qualified to give a tour of the basement. I don't know what's there now. I don't know if we can get through. Okay, this may be locked from this side. We may have to do it from the other side. No, locked. We'll have to go up from the fire tower side.
Okay.
What was?
That's the offices now. That was the third floor where the staff lived. There was a bathroom at this end and a bathroom at the other end.
It's okay. It's okay.
Are you getting bored with the tour?
No.
No. She's getting worried about not going.
Go ahead. Oh. Well,
Here, how about a shot of this nice window?
that's a nice window. Now, why did they put it here in this little back hall instead of someplace where it would really show? Because those are
Maybe
rather
from-
ugly windows in front
I
of
think
our
maybe
house.
because this wing, there's only one wing, right? There's not a
Yeah.
wing on that side.
But
and
I
so
mean,
maybe
it's a
the-
really attractive window, and here it
Right.
looks all this stuff. Doesn't make very good sense to me.
I guess maybe you could see it from the outside.
Right, more from the outside.
No, it'll only look dark when you look in it.
Oh,
You know.
really?
It would be better to take the windows in that, what was the landing. Well, this little room, we were always put in here when there was a dinner party or luncheon or something. We had our lunchroom, our meals in here. And this, we kept our bicycles in this back hall. And here. So this has been made into two. This was one room that went on through. And the telephone, the only telephone was there. And if my mother was upstairs or somebody was upstairs, and the maid answered the phone, she couldn't answer it in the kitchen. They would come in here and then go all the way upstairs and tell my mother that somebody wanted to speak to her on the phone. And we never went to the trouble of putting a phone in the front part of the house. Well, it was such a temporary life because you see, they didn't own it. It was owned by my mother, my aunt, and my uncle when we lived here. So that there was always the possibility of its being sold, and there was a huge for sale sign on the far corner of the place for years, which I always wanted to go tear it down or throw something at it or something. But it finally wasn't sold till 1950. But I guess they just did what they could, and that didn't, with so much staff, they didn't feel it was important.
Right.
Though there were phones in all the bedrooms, but they didn't ring into the bedrooms. You had to answer it down here. There were phones with little push buttons on them, so you could supposedly reach the kitchen or the stable or the garage or something. Nothing worked like that when we were here.
It was all in theory, right?
Yeah. This was the closet where everything was kept. Well, everything seems to be kept here too. But our garden tools and when we wanted to garden, we had to bring our garden tools in here.
Right.
And things for the dogs and stuff like that were kept in here. But our bicycles were lined up, and we had in the early days, my brother had a pedal motor, a car and we used to ride. We rode all around these rooms on our tricycles and everything.
Right.
But everything was neat and tidy. We never ran into anything or bumped anything. We were very good
That sounds
children.
similar to today.
Now there are your leaded pane windows, so it seems very wrong to have that window there.
Right. Odd.
Well, do you want to go upstairs or?
Excuse me.
Sure, sorry. Yeah, are you okay on
Does
time?
Margo want to do that?
Oh, sure.
Do you want to?
Well, if it's okay with you.
You wanted to see where my bedroom was?
Yeah.
Well, we have to do it from this end.
You want to stay in front here while we go upstairs? Okay, come on, we'll just see where it is.
This was the door out to the garden and big trees and everything. And when in hot weather, we spent most of our time out.
So all this is built on?
What?
So all of the pools and everything?
Oh,
were
nothing
built
that,
on?
no. That's all the while I did that.
Careful, James, this way.
And there was a nice long walk down to the swimming pool. So by the time you got back up here, you were all hot again.
This is where Julie would go up and down with her personal trainer. They sit ups on all these things. Maybe
I don't think we're going to get in. We're not getting in. This was a big hall window here, and that was my room there. And that was a guest room on this side. And my parents' rooms were across.
Patrick, you want me to get a shot of?
will that show?
Oh, yes, do that. See if you can get those cornices. I think it's one of those things that broke off and they have it over the counters. I have to go there.
Maybe too
now to
big.
take that stuff for Brian.
You might be able to get someone
Oh,
to let
and
us
then
in.
somebody has, I think it was Mr. Dittman, had the idea that you see the tops of the windows where they were. He thought it was it does look like a keystone, and that's the symbol of the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yes.
So he thought maybe, I think you can read anything you want into it.
There's a tool. Why
Windows up
kids?
here.
This was a big window here at the end. Yeah.
And so that staircase led up to the third floor?
That goes up to the third floor to they all have offices. Why?
None of this was here.
going to
Oh,
see
this
if
was built
they-
by the Y.
No,
You
this
guys
was
have
all,
built the other way.
none of this was here.
Right, this is just added on to the house.
See, they had to get rid of the main staircase, which was all wood, because of the fire code. So then this fire tower thing was added on. But you can see how I feel that it would have been much nicer to put this at the other end, which was the
Yes.
working end of the house.
Yes.
And have this as a beautiful, it was a lovely little garden.
Yeah.
And it would have been so nice for the Golden Age people to
Yes.
be able to sit out there on benches under the
Definitely.
trees.
Did Julie go to get someone to unlock it? Was that?
Yeah, she
Oh.
went to go and get a key.
Oh,
Oh, are we going upstairs?
he's gonna,
Oh, no, she's
he's gonna see if we could get in, I guess.
Well, there's just rooms that they've turned into offices.
Yeah, in this direction.
Oh,
Really going to see if
I
you
see.
can get it.
So the staircase was back
It was in the main hall where you saw. What I'd like to show you where it came up on the second floor, because then you can see the stained glass. Stained glass. And I don't know what the stained glass.
Do you have a
whether it's
key?
Tiffany or.
You won't let us in?
Let's see the stained glass in Philadelphia.
What?
I don't know
The dust didn't know where the key
what
was.
stained glass it was. And I never had the wit to ask. It's funny, you think about things like that.
Would be something that, yeah.
Yeah.
What, Julie, did you
Would
find?
you-
Someone
The
coming up?
lady didn't know where the key was
Okay.
behind the desk. The girl. Membership looked really busy.
Okay.
Oh well,
Yeah.
but we can
I'm sure you
You
could
can do a
come
little quick
over
walk around the
sometime.
outside of the building
And,
after.
you can see it from the
But
outside.
right in the middle, overlooking what would be the front door, there's a classroom a few steps down. I mean, it's a play area or something, and it's been sort of boarded over. It's just changed. So, but the staircase went down in two things like this around a hollow, and then hit a landing, and that's where the window was with the stained glass, which you can see from outside.
And you have to be in there to see that.
But to see stained glass, you really have to be in the building, looking out at the light, at the light shining. And it's only little squares up in the top.
Is there more stained glass up one floor? No, just from
We've got about 5 minutes of tape left, but
Okay.
that's more.
We better hold up so we can get the outside of the building. We're gonna turn it on.
And so we say goodbye to Mrs. Meigs. Who knows? Maybe in 50 years, this building will start a whole new life.